The truth is that we humans live on the surface, reacting emotionally to what people say and do. We form opinions of others and ourselves that are rather simplified. We settle for the easiest and the most convenient story to tell ourselves. What if, however, we could dive below the surface and see deep within, getting closer to the actual roots of what causes human behavior?
64,000 is the median number of words per book. Average person reads about 200 words per minute. Simple math will tell us that is one book in 320 minutes. To accomplish this in 7 days, numbers say you would have to read for 45 minutes a day. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that notification button, like, comment, and share. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Book of the Week series. Every week, as I read another amazing title, I share it with the world. My name is Igor S.F. Walker, and today we look at The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. So, how about you slow down and relax? Reduce all that noise for just a bit. Make that choice and decide to listen. In this video, we look at a book that is an attempt to gather together this immense storehouse of knowledge and ideas from different branches to piece together an accurate and instructive guide to human nature, basing itself on the evidence, not on particular viewpoints or moral judgments. It is brutally realistic appraisal of our species, dissecting who we are, so we can operate with more awareness. Stick around till the end. I will share with you some tools I do have and use that will help you tremendously in this game of life. Discover a way to find out what actually motivates you. What innate human need is driving all of your decisions and your behavior. I will share some tools to improve your self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, and relationship management. If you come across any special trait of meanness or stupidity, you must be careful not to let it annoy or distress you, but to look upon it merely as an addition to your knowledge, a new fact to be considered when studying the character of humanity. Your attitude towards it will be that of the mineralogist who stumbles upon a very characteristic specimen of a mineral. Said Arthur Schopenhauer, being able to understand more clear that stranger within us would help us to realize that it is not a stranger at all, but a very much a part of ourselves, and that we are far more mysterious, complex, and interesting than we actually had imagined. And with that awareness, we would be able to break the negative patterns in our lives, stop making excuses for ourselves, gain better control of what we do and what actually happens to us. Having such clarity about ourselves and about others could change the course of our lives in so many ways. But first, we must clear up a common misconception. We tend to think of our behavior as largely conscious and willed. Now let us call the collection of these forces that push and pull at us from deep within human nature. Human nature stems from the particular wiring of our brains, the configuration of our nervous system, the way we humans process emotion, all of which developed and emerged over the course of 5 million years or so of our evolution as a species. Human nature is stronger than any individual, than any institution or technological invention. It ends up shaping what we create to reflect itself in its primitive roots. It moves us around like pawns. Ignore the laws at your own peril. Refusing to come to terms with human nature simply means that you are tuning yourself to patterns beyond your control and to feelings of confusion and helplessness. The laws will empower you to take on and outthink the toxic types who inevitably cross your path and intend to cause long-term emotional damage. Understanding the permeability of emotions, you will learn that the most effective means of influence is to alter your moods and your attitudes. The laws will make you realize how deep the forces of human nature are and how deeply they operate within you, giving you the power to alter your own negative patterns. We can say that we humans have actually two contrary selves within us, a lower and a higher. The lower tends to be stronger. Its impulses pull us down into emotional reactions and into defensive postures, making us feel self-righteous and superior to others. It makes us grab for immediate pleasure and distraction, always taking the path of least resistance. It induces us to adapt what other people are thinking, losing ourselves in the group. We feel the impulses of the higher self when we are drawn out of ourselves, wanting to connect more deeply with ourselves, our minds, our work, our soul, and follow our own path in life and discover what actually makes us unique. The lower is the more animal and reactive side of our nature. The higher is the more truly human side of our nature. The side that makes us thoughtful and self-aware. Emotions evolved for a different reason than cognition. These two forms of relating to the world are not connected seamlessly in our brains. For animals unburdened by the need to translate physical sensation into abstract language, emotions function smoothly as they were meant to be for us. The split between our emotions and our cognition is a source of constant internal friction, comprising a second emotional self within us that operates beyond our will. Animals feel fear for a brief time, then it is gone. We dwell on our fears, intensifying them and making them last well past the moment of danger, even to the point of feeling constant anxiety. We imagine that we understand quite well the people that we do deal with. Life can be harsh, and we actually have too many other tasks to attend to. We are lazy. We prefer to rely upon pre-digested judgments, but in fact, it is a matter of life and death, and our success does depend on the development of these skills. We simply are not aware of this because we do not see the connection between problems in our lives and our constant misreading of people's moods and intentions, and the endless missed opportunities that actually accrue from this. Stop your incessant interior monologue and pay deeper attention to people. Attune yourself to the shifting moods of the individuals and the groups Get a read on each person's particular psychology and what actually motivates them. Try to take their perspective and then enter their world, their value systems. You will suddenly become aware of an entire world of a non-verbal behavior you never knew existed. As if your eyes could now suddenly see ultraviolet light. Once you do sense this power, you will feel its importance. And you will awaken to new social possibilities. This is the blind spot in human nature. We are poorly equipped to gauge the character of the people we deal with, their public image, their reputation that precedes them, easily mesmerizes us. We are captivated by appearances. If they surround themselves with some alluring myth, we want to believe it, instead of determining people's character, their ability to work with others, to keep to their promises, to remain strong in adverse circumstances. We choose to work with or hire people based on their glittering resume, their intelligence, and their charm. But even a positive trait such as intelligence is worthless if the person also happens to be weak or dubious character. And so, because of our blind spots, we suffer under the irresolute leader, the micromanaging boss, the conniving partner. This is the source of endless strategies in history. This is our pattern as a species. At all cost, you must alter your perspective. Train yourself to ignore the front that people display, the myth that surrounds them, and instead plumb their depths for signs of their character. Some character traits can be positive, and they can reflect inner strength. For instance, some people have a propensity towards being generous and open, empathetic, resilient under pressure. But these stronger, more flexible qualities often require awareness and practice. Practice to truly become habits that can be relied upon. As we do get older, life tends to weaken us. Our empathy is harder to hold on to. If we are reflexively generous and open to everyone we meet, we can end up in a lot of trouble. Confidence, without self-awareness and control, can actually become grandiosity. Without conscious effort, these strengths will tend to wear down or actually turn into weaknesses. What this means is that the weakest part of our character is the one and are the ones that create habits and compulsive behavior because they do not require effort or practice to maintain. We can develop conflicting character traits, perhaps stemming from a difference between our genetic predispositions and our earliest influences, or from parents who stamp in us different values. We might feel both idealistic and materialistic, these two parts fighting within us. The law remains the same. The conflicted character, which is developed in the earliest years, will merely reveal a different kind of pattern with decisions that do tend to reflect person's ambivalence, or that swing back and forth. First, you must come to understand your own character, examining as best as you can the elements in your past that have gone into forming it, and then the patterns, mostly negative, that you can see reoccurring in your life. Through awareness, we can learn to mitigate or even stop certain negative patterns. You can work to transform the negative and weak aspects of your character into actual strengths. Second, you must develop your skill in reading the character of people you do deal with. To do so, you must consider character as a primary value when it comes to choosing a person to work for or with, or an intimate partner. This means giving it more value than their charm, intelligence, or reputation. The ability to observe people's character, as seen in their actions and their patterns, is an absolutely critical social skill. So often we think that power has changed people, when in fact it simply revealed more of who they were, who they are. By nature, the humans are not easily content with our circumstances. By some perverse force within us, the moment we possess something or get what we want, our minds begin to drift towards something new and something different, to imagine we can have better. The more distant and unattainable the subject, the greater is our desire to have it. Learn to measure people by the narrowness or the breadth of their vision. Avoid entangling yourself with those who cannot see the consequences of their actions, who are in continual reactive mode. They will infect you with this energy. Your eyes must be on the larger trends that govern events, on that which is not immediately visible. Never lose sight of your long-term goals. And with an elevated perspective, you will have the patience and clarity to reach almost any objective. Understand, any phenomenon in the world is by nature complex. The people you deal with are equally complex. Any action sets off a limitless chain of reactions. It is never as simple as A leads to B, B leads to C, and to D, and beyond. Other factors will be pulled into the drama. And it is hard to predict their motivations, their responses, and you cannot possibly map out these chains or get a complete handle on consequences. But by making your thinking more consequential, you can at least become aware of the obvious negative consequences that could ensue. And this often spells the difference between success and disaster. You want depth of thinking to go to several degrees in imagining the permutations as far as your mind can go. See, most of us live within a relatively narrow time frame. We generally associate the passage of time with something negative, aging, moving closer to death. Instinctively, we recoil from thinking too deeply about the future and about the past, for this reminds us of the passage of time. Now, your task as a student of human nature and someone aspiring to reach the greater potential of the human animal is to widen your relationship to time as much as possible and slow it down. This means you do not see the passage of time as an enemy, but rather as a great ally. Understand, influence over people and the power that it brings are gained in the opposite way from what you might imagine. Normally, we try to charm people with our own ideas, showing ourselves off in the best light. We hype our past accomplishments. We promise great things about ourselves. We ask for favors. We believe that the honesty is the best policy. What we do not realize is that we are putting all of the attention on ourselves. In a world where people are increasingly self-absorbed, this only adds the effect and has the effect of making others turn more inward and return and think more of their own interests rather than ours. Your first move, then, is always to step back and assume an inferior position in relation to the other. Now make it subtle. Ask for their advice. People are dying to impact and impart their wisdom and experience. Human cannot avoid trying to influence others. Everything we say or do is examined and then interpreted by others for clues as to our intentions. We are silent. Perhaps it is because we are upset and we want to make this clear, or we are genuinely listening as a way of trying to impress with our politeness. No matter what we do, people will read into it, attempt to influence, and they're not wrong in doing so. As social animals, we cannot avoid constantly playing this game, whether we are conscious of it or not. Now, let us define the ideal state of mind as one that attains the flexibility of youth along with the reasoning power of the adult. Such a mind is open to the influence of others. And just as you use strategies to melt people's resistance, well, you must do the same on yourself, working to soften up your own rigid mental patterns. The paradigm for what we all face in life. We carry with us traumas and hurts from early childhood, and then in our social life as we get older we accumulate disappointments and slights. We too often are haunted by a sense of worthlessness or not really deserving the good things in life. We all do have moments of great doubt about ourselves. Now these emotions can lead to obsessive thoughts that do dominate our minds, that make us curtail what we experience. As a way to manage our anxiety and our disappointment, they make us turn to alcohol or any kind of a habit to numb the pain without even realizing it. We assume a negative and fearful attitude towards life. This becomes our self-imposed prison. But this is not how it has to be. We humans like to imagine that we have an objective knowledge of the world. We take it for granted that what we perceive on a daily basis is reality. Now, this reality being more or less the same for everyone, but this is an illusion. No two people see or experience the world in the same way. What we perceive is our own personal version of reality, one that is our own creation. To realize this is a critical step in our understanding of human nature. People are rarely who they seem to be, lurking behind their polite, affable exterior is inevitably a dark shadow side, consisting of the insecurities and the aggressive, selfish impulses they repress and carefully conceal from public view. This dark side leaks out in behavior that will baffle and harm you. So learn to recognize the signs of the shadow before they do become toxic. You must become aware of your own dark side. One thing is for certain. We are completely drawn to the authentic types, and unconsciously we are repulsed by the opposite. The reason for this is simple. We are secretly mourn the child part of our character we have lost. The wildness, the spontaneity, the intensity of the experience, the open mind. Understand this. The conscious thinking we do depend on is quite limited. We can hold on to only so much information in short-term and long-term memory. Of all the human emotions, none is thicker or more elusive than envy. It is very difficult to actually discern the envy that motivates people's actions, or even know that we have suffered an envy attack from others. This is what makes it so frustrating to deal with and so dangerous. The reason for this elusiveness is simple. We almost never directly express the envy we are feeling. The humans have a deep need to think highly of ourselves. If that opinion of our goodness, of our greatness, of our brilliance diverges enough from reality, we become grandiose. We imagine our superiority. Often a small measure of success will elevate our natural grandiosity to even more dangerous levels. Our high self-opinion has been confirmed by events. We forget the role that luck may have played in success or the contribution of others. We humans like to believe that we are consistent, that we are mature, that we have reasonable control over our lives, that we make decisions based on rational considerations on what will benefit us the most. We have free will. We know who we are, more or less. But in one particular aspect of life, these self-opinions are all easily shattered when we fall in love. When people are free to do as they please, they usually imitate each other. At certain moments in life, we humans may experience an energy that is powerful with sensations unlike any other, but this energy is something we rarely discuss or analyze. We can describe it as an intense feeling of belonging to a group. We can observe several interesting elements to this social force. First, it exists inside us and outside us at the same time. We can also say this force differs depending on the size and the chemistry of the particular group. Finally, we are drawn to this force. We feel attracted to numbers. A stadium full of partisan supporters of a team. Core of people singing. Parades, carnivals, concerts, religious assemblies, political conventions. The group experiences the rhythm and the melody as one. The social force among humans is merely a more complex version of what all social animals experience. Social animals are continually attuned to the emotions of others within the group. We humans may seem much more sophisticated, but the same dynamic occurs in us as well. On a completely subverbal level, we sense and we feel what others in the group are feeling. We have an urgent need to fit in and play our role in the group. Understand, these social forces are neither positive or negative. It is simply a psychological part of our nature. Your task as a student of human nature is twofold. First, you must become a consummate observer of yourself. As you do interact with groups of any size, be ruthlessly frank with yourself. Your second task is to become a consummate observer of the groups you belong to or interact with. Consider yourself an anthropologist, studying the strange customs of an alien tribe. Most people intuitively sense the rules and codes of behavior in the group. You want to take this further by observing these rules and these actions and making your knowledge of them more conscious. Why do they exist? What do they say about the group? We must come to the conclusion that the primary group we do belong to is that of the human race. This is our inevitable future. Anything else is regressive and far too dangerous. People are always ambivalent about those that are in power. They want to be led, but also want to feel free. They want to be protected and enjoy prosperity without making any sacrifices. They both worship the king and want to kill the king. Authority is the delicate art of creating the appearance of power, legitimacy, and fairness, while getting people to identify with you as a leader who is on their side and in their service. If you do want to lead, then you must master this art from early on in your life. Although there are no longer powerful kings and queens in our midst, more of us than ever operate as if we considered ourselves royalty. We feel entitled to respect for our work, no matter how little we have actually accomplished. We feel people should take our ideas and our projects seriously, no matter how little thought went into them or how meager our track record is. We expect people to help us in our careers because we are sincere and we have the best intentions. It is a fundamental fact of human nature that our emotions are almost always ambivalent, rarely pure and simple. We can feel love and hostility at the same time, or admiration and envy at the same time. On the surface, the people around you appear so polite and civilized, but beneath the mask, they are all inevitably dealing with frustrations. They have a need to influence people, to gain power over circumstances. You must transform yourself into a superior observer of people's unsatisfied, aggressive desires. Pay extra attention to the chronic aggression and then passive aggressions in our midst. You must recognize the signs, the past patterns and behavior, the obsessive need to control everything in their environment that indicate the dangerous types. All of us do understand that humans have been capable of so much violence and so much aggression in the past and in the present. We know that out there in the world, there's a sinister criminal. There's a greedy and unscrupulous businessman, belligerent negotiators, and sexual aggressors. But we create a sharp dividing line between those examples and us. We have a powerful block against imagining any kind of continuum or spectrum when it comes to our own aggressive moments, and those of the more extreme variety in others. We, in fact, define the world to describe the stronger manifestations of aggression, excluding ourselves. It is always the other who is belligerent, who starts things, who is aggressive. Always the other. Aggression is a tendency that is latent in every single human individual. It is a tendency wired into our species. We are born into a generation that defines who we are. Now, this happens more than you can imagine. Your generation wants to separate itself from the previous one and then set a new tone for the world. Your task is to understand as deeply as possible this powerful influence on who you are and what you do see in the world. Knowing in depth the spirit of your generation and the times you do live in, you will be better able to exploit the zeitgeist. People's ways of thinking have not really changed. The conventions that govern behavior in your field are still followed religiously. Yes, there might be some new styles and new trends in culture, but they are not critical factors or signs of deep change. Lulled by these appearances, it seems to you that life simply goes on, as it always has. But below the surface, however, the tide is moving. Nothing in human culture stands still. Those who are younger than you no longer have the same level of respect for certain values or even institutions that you have. Power dynamics among classes, regions, industries are in a state of flux. People are beginning to socialize and interact in completely new ways. New symbols, new myths are being formed, and old ones are fading. What you want and need is the power that Denton proposed to make sense of it all and act accordingly. And this power is a function of vision, of looking at events from a different angle, through a fresh framework. You ignore the cliched interpretations that others will inevitably spout when facing changes. You drop the mental habits and past ways of looking at things that could cloud your vision. You stop the tendency to moralize, to judge what is actually happening. You simply want to see things as they are. You look for the undercurrents of discontent and disharmony within the status quo, which are always there below the surface. You see commonalities and you see connections among all these signs and all these sights. And slowly, the flow, the tide itself, comes into focus, including a course, a direction that is actually hidden to so many others. Do not think of this as some intellectual exercise. Intellectuals are often the last to really discern the spirit of times, because they're so grounded in theories and in conventional framework. First and foremost, you must be able to feel the change in the collective mood, to sense how people are diverging from the past. Once you do feel the spirit, then you can begin to analyze what is actually behind it. Most of us spend our lives avoiding the thought of death. Instead, the inevitability of that should be continually on our minds. Understanding the shortness of life fills us with a sense of purpose, a sense of urgency to realize our goals by becoming deeply aware of our mortality. We intensify our experience of every aspect of life. We feel a sense of urgency and deeper commitment to our work, to our relationships. When we face a crisis, separation, or illness, we do not feel so terrified and overwhelmed. We do not feel the need to go into avoidance mode. We can accept that life involves pain and suffering. And we use such moments to strengthen ourselves and to learn. The awareness of our mortality cleanses us of silly illusions and intensifies every aspect of our experience. In the end, think of this philosophy in the following terms: since the beginning of human consciousness, our awareness of death has terrified us. This terror has shaped our beliefs, our religions, our institutions, and so much of our behavior in ways we cannot see or even understand. We humans have become the slaves to our fears and our evasions. When we turn this around, becoming more aware of our mortality, we experience a taste of true freedom. We no longer feel the need to restrict what we think and what we do in order to make life predictable. We can be more daring without feeling afraid of the consequences. We can cut loose from all the illusions and addictions that we do employ to numb our anxiety. We can commit fully to our work, to our relationships, to all of our actions. And once we do experience some of this freedom, we will want to explore further and expand our possibilities as far as time will allow us. And there you have it. The laws of human nature. Now please do help out. It is easy. Simply like this video. Like it, so more people can enjoy it. Share it too and spread the word. Do leave a comment and share your thoughts. Subscribe to my channel and stay up to date. And the link to this book is in the description below. So buy it, read, and never stop learning, especially learning about yourself and nature. So gift yourself by taking the free human needs test on my website and find out what actually motivates you. What innate human need is driving all of your decisions and your behavior. And if you feel you are ready to improve your self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, and relationship management even further, do check out my Master of Life Awareness program. The links are in the description below. Thank you. Love and respect.